So last time I spoke about this subject of Enigma functioned under the spirit of Jezebel. And there were people that had questions like, can a male have a spirit of Jezebel? So I wanted to answer that, but I don't want to just answer that as a bonus. I want to answer the characteristics, other characteristics. So last time I mentioned two. I mentioned the spirit of Jezebel uses intimidation and manipulation. So they will manipulate you so that you side with them, even if they are lying to you. That's the first one. Why? We explained they can't build authentic relationships, so they can only manipulate one. Okay? Number two, we said that Jezebel uses seduction. So if they can convince you of their thing, so you come out, Jezebel, Enigma, you come out with whatever he claims to be a revelation. If you are convinced of that, he doesn't have to stretch himself. But if you are not convinced of that, now he comes with threats. If you don't believe me, there's threats. People who don't believe me, they die. All those kind of things. That's now manipulation. But that's not the first tactic. The first tactic is seduction. They will give you a false doctrine, like something that you can't validate biblically. If you stand for that, you see, you are in danger. Like if you fall for the first one, you're in danger. Because you didn't take a lot of convincing, which means you don't know the scripture, right? So why is it important we break down these things? You'll see this month we gave it to Enigma. We must have done like 20 videos on Enigma, 15 videos on Enigma. So today I want to give two more. Now these ones are more serious. These ones are hectic. But you will notice that these don't only default to Enigma only. They also fall for people who are like Sizwe. So remember, if the spirit of Jezebel does not use, if seduction doesn't work, if they teach you something, you don't fall for it. They use intimidation, right? So the tactics is the same. You either with them, if you don't side with them because you don't know the Bible, they will use intimidation. Now, how did Caesar get introduced to us? He came to us with a message of that he had received this, the rapture was around his date of birth. Self-importance has become an issue now. So when we dismissed him, he then came and he said he's sent to give the message to the church. If the church does not respond to his message by month end, he must turn. They are all doomed. The twins asked him, how can the people who are not even receiving Jesus, he says, no, that's God's salvation plan. So he doesn't care about the message of salvation. He cares about the people siding with him. That's the spirit of Jezebel. See, those two, they're fun. The spirit of Jezebel, it cannot build authentic relationship. You can't disagree with them. Why? Because they can't. They cannot have you correcting them and then building because building an authentic relationships means I can correct you, you correct me. It's that whole thing. It's a relationship. But people who are not like that, that's why I mean most times when you see pastors people who maybe are in business or something, they become pastors. They sometimes don't know how to take advice because they were successful in business. So they apply the same principles to church without understanding that stuff doesn't work here. Here we have principles, and those principles are not business principles. Those principles are biblical principles. And so they fall into that. So those two, if you are able to characterize what is it that makes the spirit of Jezebel, you will not fall for the other ones. So these two ones that I want to give you are very dangerous. This happens in 1 Kings chapter number 21. This is the story of Naboth. The story of Naboth is a very interesting one. Now, why is the story of Naboth interesting? Is because Jezebel has vowed at this point to minimize how Ahab sees Naboth. Ahab is weak. He's a weakling. He's intimidated. He wants something. Naboth has it. It was a particular stretch of land. And Naboth says specifically that he cannot sell this land or he cannot give this land because, that's not what he feels led to do. That's not the direction we are going, basically. So Naboth is very clear on that. So Jezebel doesn't like that. So when Jezebel sees the weakness in Ahab as king, because Ahab is a bit, frustrated with Naboth, what does she do? She incites lies, or she builds lies in order to turn her own stories against Naboth, and Naboth actually gets killed because of that. Now look at Enigma. What did Enigma do? Enigma then gave his testimonies. When people dismissed him, he built stories and narratives around them. So you see, right there you can see, we were not wrong to call it out that he was functioning under the spirit of Jezebel. That's exactly what Jezebel did. So for those who are just educating here, so that people understand, we don't character assassinate. We speak only when we see directly from the Bible. So Jezebel does this as a lie. 1 Kings chapter number 21. When she lies, Naboth dies because of these lies that she has built up. Because she can manipulate Ahab's weakness. Because she so basically, if you go to verse number 14, it says, then the leaders of Jezreel sent a message back to Jezebel, said, Naboth is dead. As soon as Jezebel got the message, she told Ahab, now you can have the vineyard Naboth refused to sell. See, so if Jezebel doesn't get her way, she will build lies, and then when she builds lies, when it completely tarnishes things, that's her joy, is that you can't fall for the seduction. So here you'll see this element of what I spoke about last time, and I wanted to show you directly in the Bible. Build lies. That's exactly what Enigma did. He built lies around people, and through those lies was able to get a certain thing that he wanted. But there was another thing in 1 Kings. After this event happens, this is where it's dangerous. Jezebel, the influence that this being has, okay? If you go down with it up until verse number 25, verse number 17 says, and then the Lord said unto Elijah, the prophet, the king Ahab of Israel is in Naboth's vineyard right now, taking it over. Okay? Now you remember, when Enigma came out, what did he do? Yeah, he took people out of the places where people were being matured. Grace Bible Church, Suganda, of course, there are false churches that he mentioned, but he was removing people even from churches that have nothing. Like he had nothing. He couldn't accuse them of anything. What did he say about grace? Nothing. But because, why? If he cannot get people, you see, Jezebel. So it's not wrong for us to point that out. So the prophet gets the message that, by the way, because now they are now following the thing, so the land, basically. The land has been taken over. The land has been taken over. It says, go and tell him, verse 19, go and tell him that I say, Ahab, you murdered Naboth and took his property, and so in the very spot where dogs licked Naboth's blood, they will lick your own blood. And then he says, when Elijah found him, Ahab said, so my enemy, you found me at last. Even the person who carries a message for him in his wrong has become an enemy. Ahab heard this. He tore his clothes in sorrow and wore sackcloth a day and night. He was depressed and refused to eat. It's very important a person recognize a point of turning away. The thing that I thought was very interesting in this verse, especially when you approach verse number 25, in other versions it puts it like this, is surely there was never one like Ahab who sold himself to do evil in the sight of God. Sold himself. That's why you see Enigma has people that will speak for him to emphasize his message. They have sold themselves to his message to do evil. Because what is the evil is that they speak against the people that warn him. If you warn Enigma, guess what? The dogs will come. That's the spirit of Jezebel. You see, it has its characters that surround and thing. Even if you are diagnosed directly from scripture. So we were not wrong by making that, but be very careful not to be used as a dog for the person that thing. But by a dog I don't mean thing, okay? I mean a person as a protector. A dog is a protector, that the dog would be sent to protect you, understand? Be very careful. You have value before God's hand. But if you choose to be used contrary in manipulation and in intimidation, boom, the devil has an agenda for you. So we were not wrong by calling him that, because he functions exactly like that. He functions exactly like that. That verse number 25, that surely there was none like Ahab who sold himself to do evil in the sight of God. And so that's a biblical characteristic. Like you will have people, even as he lies, you will have people defend him, what, and so that's a very terrible place to find yourself at. But it's tricky. Be very careful, people that just character assassinate. Our obligation in speaking the truth is to point out by scripture the things that you see. It's not to just take whatever you think because you disagree with someone and then, no. We operate by scripture. Our operation is by scripture. I can't give that because, like I said on the previous video, it takes time to study the scripture. Don't sell your soul don't sell your soul to these people so that you do their bidding. Because as you heard, they will go to the uttermost in order to obtain what Jezebel got Ahab to go and do something, and then it got both killed because he wanted something. Very careful. What does Enigma want? No, what does he want? Do you know? We'll leave it to you. It's okay, we're done here.